Have you experienced a mental health crisis in your family? Maybe you're struggling with your own mental health and you wish that you could rewrite your story. Well, today you'll meet Connie Jakab, someone who knows what it's like to experience the agony of mental health crisis in her family. But she's here to share about the miracle of her family's story being rewritten. Welcome to this segment of Contagious Courage with Vahen. Connie, I am so excited that you're here today. Like this interview, you guys, is like way overdue. Connie is an author. She's a speaker. She's founder of the Hope Movement. I could go on with her titles, but let's begin. Could you tell the viewers why it is that you believe in hope, and can you really rewrite your story?
Ooh. So hope is interesting because a lot of us think that hope is about arriving somewhere. Right? We're on a journey, we're broken, we're going through some kind of crisis, and hope is when we arrive at the answer and we're no longer there and things are great. We've made $1 million and we're resting on the beach of Hawaii.
Oh, that would be nice.
That does sound hopeful, doesn't it? But I really what hope is this idea that we are able to get through the hard stuff. That hope is something that we can't grab onto. It's uncontrollable, and it's something that drives us to know that everything that happens to us is doing something for us, not against us. And so, like, for example, in our home, our son, at 6 years old was diagnosed with anxiety and depression and oppositional defiance and ADHD. And at age 8, he was suicidal. And we came through that with a beautiful message of you never send the hurting away, but you bring them closer.
You said something very profound, and you said, I learned to bring him closer. I want you to tell us how you came to that realization. Tell us about what was happening around that situation for you to be even able to come to that conclusion.
No, it was quite profound because rage was the way my son showed his depression. And so I would send him to his room. He's wrecking our house. He's threatening our lives. He's swearing. It was awful. Like he's calling me all kinds of names. And so when we took him to the hospital and the psychologist asked me, so what do you do when he's doing this? And I told her I send him to his room. She said, oh no, you never send the hurting away. You bring them closer. And I didn't know what that meant. I had no concept around that when children of the 80s, we got smacked upside the head.
Go to your room.
Go to your room. And so I bring him closer. What does that mean? And so 3 weeks later, he was in the hospital for 3 weeks and comes home medicated. And I'm thinking, great, somebody fixed him. And he's got a counselor. I'm like, awesome. Like, we are finally able to move on with our lives. But then he had that first fit of rage when he got home. And I'm thinking, meds don't even work? Counseling doesn't work? 3 weeks in the hospital doesn't work? Are you kidding me? And all of a sudden, I realized, wait a minute, bring him closer. What does that mean? So I kept him in the same room while he was raging, which was not easy. And I remember just saying things like, son, you belong in our house. We love you. We're going to fight for you. We're going to do whatever it takes. I'm not trying to change your behavior. And then I kind of choked on those words because I'm thinking, I want to change his behavior. But I showed up like that consistently in his life for a year. And now, I'm touring a parent seminar, helping parents overcome mental health challenges with their children, and with this hope that we have that our son got better. But now he's 13.
Wow. Yes.
And we are hitting another bump. I mean, I think 13 it's an interesting age. Yes. I call it the vortex of life. And it's interesting how, even though I've got this book coming out and I've got this seminar, we're at a real roadblock again.
So, Connie, I'm going to read something that you said because I think that this is I know we've summarized it a lot. You said, it took a year of showing up consistently like this, but then a miracle happened. Our son's rages disappeared. When he would experience large emotion, all we needed to do was put our arms around him and he would regulate. Talk to us about that.
Wow. So we think that so regulation, dysregulation, I call it going berserk, wow, having a meltdown, right? So regulation is being able to be calm, and oftentimes what we do is we send our kids to a program that will regulate them. But what they actually need, anybody, kids, anyone, we need one another to regulate, and we can only learn regulation in relationship. And so, as we would bring him close, if he let us hold him, there's something neurologically that happens in us when we're held or when we're seen. Even if you can't hold a person, you can look them in the eye, and that attunement actually rewires their brain. Saying empathetic statements like, I can see you're really frustrated. It takes the emotion out of chaos and names it. And now they feel understood, which is everyone's most felt need, is to feel understood. And when we feel understood, we feel like we calm down, we rest, and we're able to just pause. And that's exactly what that is. And I find that interesting because isn't that kind of how we're formed, is when we lean on God's chest. We are regulated. We are healed.
So good.
We're transformed on his chest, not
So
away
good.
from him.
So good.
But the bravery it takes to sit there.
Right? Yeah.
And so I found it through this, really seeing that, that's all we really want and need, is to be brought close.
Somebody's watching is probably like maybe experiencing some of these things with your kids, right? You're figuring it out. You're rewriting your story. I want you to, if you wouldn't mind, share like that journey, what was happening with you when you were trying to bring them closer.
Yeah.
Right? Because people are watching. You're like, this ain't easy, and I want to pull my hair out. Like share some of that journey, because
it's funny because I say that, never send the hurting away, but bring them closer. And everybody resonates with that. It's very, and I even resonated with it. When the psychologist said it, I'm like, there's something on that. But man, it is not easy, because bringing somebody who is violent closer, bringing somebody who is not being nice to you at all. I don't recommend this for spouses, but it's hard to keep someone who is in brokenness and darkness. Sitting with them brings up all your stuff, and it's so uncomfortable when we've grown up in an age where it's like, no, push that down. We don't show that. I didn't realize how uncomfortable I was with anger.
Oh,
anger was a trigger for me. I just didn't want to be around people who were angry. So here's my own son who's angry, but underneath his anger is extreme sadness. But you can't see that if you can't sit in someone's brokenness for a few minutes, and then instantly you're faced with your own brokenness, or and you try to dismiss it by blaming. You think, I know whose fault this is. It's my husband's fault, right? It's because of his family, or because of the school system, or it's because of the mental health. Like, we're so quick to take the emotions that come up that are so vulnerable and painful for us, and we have all kinds of defense mechanisms. Blame is one, shame, hiding it. It's like, I don't want anyone to know. Let's not tell anybody that we're going through this. That's still a big thing for me, because we want to appear shiny. The problem is that this is real, and this happens more than people say. Our kids, like the things that they go through behind closed doors.
right.
It's a real problem. We're only number 25 in the world for child safety, and I think we're that number because we hide everything.
We're so good at masking our pain, hey?
Yeah. And it's hard to come out of the mask. And to, as somebody who's been married for 20 years, you think those kids are from families that are broken and they're alcoholics. And, I became an alcoholic after my son, we weren't the typical. And so you instantly think, if I told anyone, I would look awful. And that's such a lie, but that's what you think. It's no one's fault. Brokenness is to be human.
Right.
And when we ignore brokenness, it only increases. And in isolation, the darkness just expands. But you expose light to darkness, and it has some hope.
I wonder, like in your journey of managing your own mental health and your and your son's mental health, how important, I want you to share with the people who are watching, How important is boundary setting?
Boundaries are huge. So when people hear bring them closer, they think, well, that sounds like no boundaries at all. But no, there are boundaries. And a lot of times people think that boundaries is I'm going to tell you what to do. But boundaries aren't that at all. Boundaries is this is what I will do when you act like that. Mm-hmm. So I'm not trying to control my son. I'm controlling the only person I have control over, which is me. We don't control our kids. And many people think, I know, that's exactly why I need your help. And I just say we don't control anybody. In fact, control is a really horrible way to do relationships. I mean, think of the last time our husbands might have tried to control. How's that go over, right? Right? Nobody does well with control. We get defensive. We go to the back of our brain. We become very reactive. And that was my son. He was very reactive. And so boundaries is saying, I'm going to take control of myself. And so, for example, with my son, if you speak to me that way, I'm going to walk away for a few minutes and I'll circle back. I'm not saying, you can't talk to me like that, young man, because that's not boundary. That's telling him how to behave. But I'm teaching him how I'm to be treated when I say, I will not be talked to that way. I'll come back in a few minutes. We teach people how to treat us. And a lot of our mental health is damaged because we don't know how to have healthy boundaries.
No.
I've structured my life for the mental health of myself and my family. I'm not great at it. If my family's watching, they're like, she sucks. I know. But I have gotten so much better. Like I put the phone away at a certain point when I can. I mean, there's seasons.
Yes.
But, or if I'm gone, it's like when I get home, no, I'm going to be fully present. My morning routine, so that it's predictable for me and my kids.
Right.
We forget how much structure is honoring to ourselves and to our relationships.
Right. And that is why you've created the Hope Movement. Because you believe that other people are crying out to have their stories rewritten and don't think it's possible. And so tell us about the Hope Movement and what you're doing with that.
Well, so that's exciting because I didn't know if it would work. And then we bring people together and we give them a safe place. And what happens? They all start sharing.
Yep.
And all it takes is a couple of courageous people to share their story and everybody else is like, me too, or this is my experience. And honestly, just that's the why, is people's voices need to be heard. People need to come together and there needs to be some intentionality about creating those safe places. Yep. And just like you experienced the conference in Edmonton and how vulnerable people got so quickly, that really shows us that there's a hunger for it. Yep. And so it's a movement of people saying, I'm coming out of isolation, I'm joining hands, I'm going to be present in a room once a year at a conference, but I'm also, I want to spread this across Canada. Yeah.
Right? It's a smile. It's a hug. It's a touch. It's like, I see you. I'm looking up from this device here and I'm actually seeing you. And we all have the opportunity to slay this giant of mental illness. Connie, final thoughts?
I would definitely say, hope can rise. Hope rises, but come out of isolation, come out of hiding, gather, get somebody, talk to somebody, risk, be brave to come out. This is not meant to define anyone. Anxiety is not anyone's inheritance. And that's where the hope comes in. Because when people join hands and people come out of isolation, hope rises. People rise up and they become more resilient than they know. Yes. That's where hope rises, is together.
What a blessing to have Connie Jakab in the house today. Connie, thank you so much for being here. If you want to reach out to Connie, all of her information will be in the description of this video. And all that's left to say today is, not to us, O Lord, not to us, but to you and your name goes all the honor and glory for his unfailing love and faithfulness. Until next time, thank you. Sorry. You're enjoying.
This is awesome.
You're enjoying this.